spewing water out when you turn on the faucet, and then a big boy bed in there, and then the dialysis machine to figure out where to put. It wasn't just like a quick turnaround, so it was a whole mission moment night.
You were part
Especially
of that too. 'Cause
Lauren,
then
Brittany,
Yes.
and
at 5
Danielle.
a.m. you went and got 5 rooms ready for.
Well, actually, not totally. I made a list of everything each room needed
Oh.
and gave it to the Savannah, that was the CNA on COVID.
Silda.
But we couldn't use them.
But we
After
still
that
couldn't
night.
figure out what nipples were.
Dude, that's what they're actually
Oh,
called.
the tree?
Yeah,
Christmas
the tree. Yeah. If you go into the RT room,
Nipples.
on the thing it says nipples.
Okay, learn.
Maybe-
I
Maybe
swear we're
Susan's
not
need-
8 years old.
Maybe Susan needs a little bit more.
Oh, that's funny.
Risto is just always willing to
Yeah, absolutely.
pick up, change a shift. We floated him 3 different places yesterday.
Even on his New Year's Eve when he would rather have been out dancing.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know, it's so amazing.
And
And.
then ER has been very understanding.
Mhm.
Yes.
No, Risto helped out a lot. I was a benefactor of his assistance.
Yes.
Cause he helped yesterday, right?
Oh, so much. And like, not a bad attitude, just willing.
That's where he wants to be.
So, big thank you to him and whoever sent him.
That's Chase.
Thanks, Chase.
Chase did amazing yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a
It's hard,
resource.
it's
It
hard
was a rough day.
to fit him in the ER when you
And
don't
it
know.
was
It needs a
just-
positive attitude.
I think we had like 9 in the waiting room. I don't know. I just kind of stopped scrolling. I was just like, as soon as possible, and just do what you can. And it was just flipping rooms, and I was like, I already have a new one. I didn't know that person got discharged. Oh yeah, I discharged him for you. Oh okay. And so it was just like okay, and it just shuffled. But by the end of the night, when I left at 1, we didn't have a wait, so it was back to our goal. You know, like.
Yeah.
You had 90 patients yesterday.
Oh my
90?
gosh.
90 that came in through the ER.
Isn't it 75 to be good?
Yeah,
Right?
90.
It's insane.
So many.
I think I had 9 within the first 3 hours of my shift, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm just collecting all the
You're
things
like,
to
when am
chart
I ever
later.
gonna chart on these?
I know, I'm just like,
How do
don't
you
mess up my
remember?
pile.
Yeah.
I just jot down little chicken scratch notes and put them all there, and I'm like, this is gonna be a have to later, and then before I leave, I just make sure
Yay.
everything's
Hey, Lauren.
off and charted.
We're just talking about mission moments.
9, like, IV where it was, fine, you know, ready to go. And just keep them in my pocket, and then when I discharge them, I just clip them all. And it's just chaos. But it worked.
You made it through the night.
Alright, any other mission moments? These are good ones.
I should write them down, cause I just think there's so many, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I should.
There's so many.
That's true. Alright, so leadership development, our book, Leadership and Self-Deception, Getting Out of the Box. Tell us what you learned the last couple weeks from what you read.
I learned what you meant by the box.
Okay, what the box is.
With some love.
I know, right?
But it's I like its purpose. I think the intention of the writer is very astute, and it's a great management and leadership tool. So, thank you for the book.
Yeah, sure.
I highlighted something, but I forgot it.
Do you wanna
I can't remember what page it's on.
What was the general?
Yeah, it was a general
I don't
idea.
remember. It was a week ago, or whatever. Let me see it.
Oh, I remember a diagram.
Oh.
There's that box about the child coming home late.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's Kate and Brian, and Kate's what I do is, what Brian's doing is coming home late after curfew, and Kate, the mom, is getting upset and disciplining harshly, criticizing, and doing more micromanaging. And so Kate's doing all that micromanaging and criticizing, and what Brian, the kid, sees is a dictatorial and unloving, nosy. And so what he does is he has no interest of getting home on time. He has less interest than he did before. And then what Kate's saying is more responsibility, troublemaking, and disrespectful, and so she becomes more harshly, and then they just kind of get into this spiraling cycle. And when they're both kind of just shutting and sealing their boxes, there's nobody really breaking out of it and ending that cycle, and so it just continues and continues and continues, and it's damaging their relationship. So I like how this can apply to many aspects of interpersonal communication, and that to stay out of that spiral, to break out of the box and show the person what you really mean by your actions and how you say things.
Love that. Awesome.
Yeah, how do you relate it to the house supervisor job?
If you've got to maybe intervene on some cares that are maybe not the best towards the patient, and then maybe there's a patient complaint regarding somebody, and you have to intervene and try to, instead of have them come away as a discipline and they don't like you type of thing, but to help them grow and see how the patient's perceiving the situation, even though the employee might not think that they're doing anything wrong, that they didn't mean that, but there's the perception of the patient, and to make sure that they're both open to seeing from the other person's shoes. That is what you can get growth from, instead of just I'm not listening, you know, like that whole like you're just being mean again type of thing, just like kids in that cycle right there. But to break out of it, maybe say things in a different way, approach the topic in a different manner, but to make sure, I don't know, from other classes and stuff, it's sandwiching. It's saying something positive, then saying what you need fixed, and ending with another positive thing, and then just making sure that it's all blended together when you give your direction to the employee. Does that make sense?
And I like how this book like doesn't outline something like not anything wrong with the sandwich, but I like how it just says like you can say what you need to as long as you say it with the right intent, and like they'll know your intent. Like
Even the hard
if
conversation.
you go into the conversation
Yeah.
and you really don't care about that person, even if you're pretending to, they're gonna know that you don't care about them.
But you can really tell.
So true.
Yeah, when someone is talking to you, you can really tell if they really don't care about you. Yeah, it's good.
I liked it because there's a specific nurse on the IMC at night that we've been having lots of trouble with, and there's actually been a time where I was like, oh, I should go help her, and then I was like, no, because she would never do that for anybody else. And then I was like that's like totally like an example that he did too, and I was like, that's just, so like that her not doing it gives me more reason to like keep her in that box and not help her next time, when like I should have just done it when I was thinking about it.
Betray yourself.
Right. And then I was like reading that and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is exactly what has happened like many nights, and so it just makes you think differently.
Love that.
For sure.
So good. We all do it every day, all the time.
Yeah.
What else in that box?
I learned I raised my kids wrong.
Oh my
I got coming
gosh.
in late, I thought, okay, need a do-over. I thought it's really interesting how just in general, how we betray ourselves, like, but this, but that, you know, we justify everything, right? And it's to make us look good and the other person look worse. So it, you know, I love this book. I think it should be in marriage counseling also.
Yes.
Right? Right?
Right, you raised your kids
Serious.
wrong, your marriage is wrong, I felt the same
How it
way.
relates to work, I don't know.
But my personal life was really,
I'm not kidding. I read this when I'd been married, like, gosh, not very long. Probably 4 to 6 years. And it changed my marriage, like, so much better since this book. It really has, though. Like, it really changed my marriage. I'm not kidding.
Did
So,
you have your husband read the book?
I asked him to, and he didn't want to. And I was like, well, I guess I just need to stay out of the box. He's pretty much perfect, so it was all me anyway, so. You'll meet him and you'll know he's a good guy. Yeah. What else? Did you find it, Chase?
I don't know. It was just it said when you're in the box, you're focused on justification, but when you're at work, even, rather than results. So when you're out of the box, you're focused on results and, yeah.
Outcome,
Yeah. I want to delve more into, eventually, I'm sure it will, into the part, because I feel like I just scratched the surface of like how we protect our box. You know, like how it, like we depend on that fault for our identity, and it's like almost threatening for somebody to try and break it down, even though it'd make you a better person. I think that part's kind of crazy. I understand it, but then I think there's more I can understand about it too. It's a pretty deep one. I mean, I guess you could call that ego.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not in a bad way. It's just like you have to, you know, a lot of those like spiritual practices and stuff is about like dying and being reborn and breaking down your ego, or like looking at yourself honestly in the mirror. And that can be scary for people that want to defend it. But then like, I want you to be bad because it justifies my, you know, because that's a whole nother level. Then I need you to be in your worst self because it makes me justified in my worst self. And I only ever thought of it in terms of yourself. I never thought of it in terms of like, I need you to stay that way too. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good book.
It is.
Right. No, I love it so much. So thank you guys. Really good comments. We all learn something like a little bit different and bring it together, which is so cool and learn from each other. So let's read to what page did we get to this time? 118.
Part 2.
Should we go to 1?
It's not that much longer.
Should we just finish it?
Because I think
It's not
that,
too
like,
much
the
to
rest
ask.
of this is like, 'cause that's
In
not.
depth.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
read that part. I started and was mad.
You got right back in there.
So read to resources, because then they start selling their other book, which is actually really good, but like, this is a waste of my time. Okay,
We'll just finish it.
Awesome. All right. Should we come back to your 5 minutes in a minute, Pamela?
Sure.
Okay. So, new business. Diane, you go ahead and talk about float pool staff.
Okay, so I sent out a group me earlier this week just about the float pool staff. So it's really important. So the only one that is, well, so Alyssa is still in the float pool. Randy and Diane are still in the float pool, but everybody else has moved on to a different department. So like Jason is no longer in the float pool. Who else? Jason moved. Oh, and Hillary Teasley is no longer in the float pool.
Right.
So neither of them can be floated unless you talk to their manager. I mean, you know, if it's their turn to float or whatever. But right now, Jason is on orientation in IMC. Hillary is not on well, she kind of is orienting to charge.
Right.
So she really shouldn't be moved, and neither should Jason. So anyway, I put the list up on your cork board right behind the computer so that you can see as you're doing scheduling who's doing what. Tonight we had to pull, I feel really bad, we had to pull Randy off family birth tonight because we just have so many people in this hospital. So anyway, but if you can leave them on, leave them on. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew. Alyssa will no longer be float pool as of the 23rd. So she will be ICU.
Is
And-
there more float pool gonna be hired then, or?
Well, we have 3.
What are you gonna do all day? Joking, so joking.
I was trying to think of one. So we do have some more star RNs coming in the float pool, so that's good. I think we've got 3. Yeah, 1 night, 2 days. And we have some more star techs coming. We have, I think there's 5, like 3 days, 2 nights, or something like that.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, David's feeling about the float pool is when we have openings other places, we should try to fill those. I feel that same way. I feel like if MedSurg has 10 open spots, let's fill those spots. And do any of the float pool want to work there? Let's fill that spot. So
Olga's still float pool.
Olga's still float pool. Yeah. So anyway, but it is dwindling a lot. Plus, the other thing that happened over in acute rehab this week is, they had a nurse get super sick. So now we're doing more in acute rehab, but they've got a traveler coming at night, and she has
Good.
hired somebody for days. So
Oh.
they're, yeah, it'll get better, so. And medical has some more travelers coming also.
8
Wow.
travel nurses.
Yeah.
In the next couple of weeks.
So, we're not gonna need a float pool that's humongous anyway. And many of you worked when we had a very small float pool. When I first came here, I think there was like 4 nurses.
Yeah,
Like, there was hardly any float pool. Maybe 1 CNA, Kasia. Anyway, so I think David kinda wants it to get back to that.
If we, like, our goal is the 4 critical care float nurses that we have, and then to be able to have 4 that go to family, birthplace, peds, and NICU mostly, which we'll get there eventually. It's just all these surges and stuff, and then to have probably like 6 that are just core float. So that's kind of like our vision. But we did try to get the float pool because we had so many open recs. So we tried to get them to departments if they wanted to be.
Yeah. And we felt like if they wanted, so we did call all of the float pool and told them, if you'd like to move to a unit right now, because we have so many open positions, then you can. So even the one that were star RNs, they kind of waived that year
Uh-huh.
mark.
Is it a
So-
pay cut for them? Float pool, like a little more, cause you're floating all the time?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and they were working on that too,
Oh, okay.
so,
We
anyway.
tried to match it, so they-
Yeah.
Nice, good.
And so really the only one, Hillary left to do, go on surgical, and then Jason wanted IMC. Alyssa had already applied for ICU. Jessica Rasmussen at night also applied for ICU. She had her,
She's starting, isn't she? Did she tell me last
We
night
are
she's
waiting
already-
to see if she will accept.
she also applied at Lakeview.
Oh, well, last night she told me she was moving over there,
Oh,
so she
good.
must have
Okay,
accepted.
good.
Well, that is exciting. If she told you, then.
Because I've been
Making you
anxiously
sweat.
waiting.
Yeah.
for
She
this
announced
day.
it to everybody
Oh,
on
good.
COVID last night, so.
Okay, good.
That's great.
We love her. She's
She
amazing.
was so
Yeah,
good.
and she'll do so great in the ICU and really whatever she wants to do.
They're all great, that's why I don't think it's a problem waiving that year.
Yeah,
They're all
Aw.
they all just do a really
They're
good job.
ready.
Yeah. So, but
I
if
guess
you
it's
are,
been worth a year, 2 years, this last year has been worth 2 years.
right?
Yeah,
Six
that's
months,
true.
6
You had to
months.
like accelerate your learning.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and as you're talking to the float pool, if any of them ever say anything to you like, oh, I'd really like to be on this unit or anything, let me know, because we're happy to make that happen.
You know what, Erica Mortensen one time told me that she was interested in ICU. She said she'll be in the area for like 10 years, cause her husband's military. So I didn't know she's actually
Contract.
agency right now.
Yeah, she's
But she said if you guys would train me for ICU, I'd love to work ICU, and I mean, she seems smart.
She would.
Yeah.
As an agency nurse?
Is she
or-
a
I
good
didn't ask
nurse?
her that part.
She's agency mentor.
Is she good? Does she do a good job?
If she
Yeah,
would
She
stay,
does,
So-
I like her, I worked with her.
The physicians like her
She
too.
stays.
she'd
Yeah,
have to apply for a position. So agencies have to
You're
work
right.
for a year in
okay,
the specialty to be able to work for an agency. So like I
Okay.
know they really want Ryan Castleton in ICU, but he hasn't worked ICU and he has to work it for a year before he can.
He has to stay on IMC. He
Yep.
can't move.
Yeah.
He's amazing
He's
too.
amazing.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, he was a single guy, and now he
He's got
has twins
gonna
in
have
the oven.
twins.
2 kids and a wife, something like that. He was like talking about how his mantle on Christmas was like all these stockings, and one for the dog too, and like 2 years ago it was none.
Pamela, are you ready for your 5 minutes?
Well, really, me and you discussed, we were gonna talk about SIs and stuff and what we have decided on, cause we said we were gonna start a policy, but nothing's ever been done about not having them on IMC anymore, so.
Oh yeah.
Have,
So
is there anything more on that?
David approved, like a month or 2 ago, that we could have them not on IMC, as long as those nurses know what to do.
Are we
So-
gonna train those nurses on CPI? Cause that's why they were going to IMC is cause of the CPI.
Yeah, and IMC's, only their charges have CPI.
Oh, it used to be they all were required. When I got it, they were all required and the ICU was required.
Yeah, they've kind of gone away from it, and ICU's not required anymore either. Honestly, because of all the other education, and then as well as the cost. And so they don't have CPI anymore over there. It's more the,
Oh, so
the
that was-
reason why, Brett Powell really wanted it to stay on IMC when he's quality director, because then it's less people that have to remember all the protocols you have to do, and to get the room safe and all that. But as long as they're just following, you know, those big signs that the red, green, and yellow, then they won't miss anything at all. And so they can be anywhere.
Okay.
Should we put that protocol laminated in the sitter binder?
It is there.
Oh, it is? Okay, I
Mhm.
forgot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Is
it's-
it the green one? Is it the green
The
one?
red, green, yellow one.
That one's in the binder? I thought it was on a green.
Yeah,
one.
if it's
Well,
not, tell me.
okay.
There's the
You
green
have-
one, but there should be that too.
Okay, I'll double
When
check.
we put them together, they were there,
Okay, no, it probably is then.
but
Good.
no. But
Okay.
yeah, so sorry that we didn't tell you they could be anywhere.
Good, no, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still
Spread
like
the word,
preferential
Lauren.
to be on IMC because they're used to it again, like they're used to getting the room safe and knowing what to look for, but if they need to be on a different unit, or if they're already on surgical or something,
And
then
then
we can leave them.
the overdoses are gonna be over there anyway.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, sorry, yeah, that.
And we also need to remember we cannot share a sitter if they're at a site.
Yeah.
Cause I guess over the weekend for like 4 shifts or something, they were, and the night I had them, she wasn't even in the psych room most of the night, cause she was too busy in the other one. So that patient, the nurses had to be in there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad all that's all sides so clear.
Yeah, no, I'm so
changed.
sorry I didn't tell you about it that day. Yeah. That's my fault. Wasn't there another thing? I
There
swear
was another
Diane said
thing
you were
we
gonna
were
share
gonna talk
something
about. Yeah.
about.
What was it, Pamela, did you remember?
I know it's written on a sticky
Oh.
note.
Yeah,
in
we
office,
talked
and I was like,
about
oh,
it.
that would be good. It was clear from Monday though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a long time
Okay,
ago.
as soon as it comes back to you.
It'll come back.
It
to me
will.
here in a second.
Yeah.
It will.
Did you wanna talk about holiday blocks? Do you want me to talk about holiday blocks, Diane?
Go ahead.
Okay, so as we talked about last time, we're gonna move to the holiday blocks, block A, block B, block C. They should just put these in here from what they worked last year.
Uh-huh, yep. I thought that this was pretty close, but you might have to, this may need some tweaking. So if you look at it and go, oh, I worked Thanksgiving last year, or I worked Christmas last year, will you let me know? So this was kind of a, and I figured, yeah. So look it over. If you have any questions, concerns, problems with it, we can make some changes.
I can already see one that me and Lee were gonna.
Yep, okay, which
Check.
one? Christmas Eve or Halloween?
I was thinking Halloween, cause
Okay,
I
you
would
know
have
I
to work
will.
for you, so.
I will
That's
take
holiday.
I always want Halloween
Yes,
off,
I
so.
want like
Yeah,
that
and as
week
long as you
off,
have them covered, like we don't.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so we wait Christmas
as,
night?
as we get closer.
Okay, alright.
I have to think of what to do about the Chase and Lindsay sharing, just to make it fair somehow. We might
I'll
have
work
to
Thanksgiving too, I don't like to cook, so.
do something else.
Right, because we probably don't want to that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, oh. Cause we'd have 2 on that day. And then the other holidays, we just have 1. Okay. I
Yeah.
see.
But we'll have to see how that works.
Yeah.
Is Jen coming back?
Yeah, she wants to be on the next schedule.
Awesome, the next
Yay.
schedule. Excellent.
Yeah, I was gonna get her phone number tonight, so I can call her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's so cute.
Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, but as long as they're covered, like, then we're good, so. New role of house soup office and house soup resource. At St. Mark's, they call it the house soup and the bed board. Like, do you guys have preference on what we call them? I don't care.
We didn't like the name bedboard until we went there and saw it, and then we were like, oh,
Oh.
that's not such a bad name.
Yeah.
So if it's easy to kind of distinguish that way, but
Are you guys okay with
if
this?
any of you hate it, then
You hate it still, is that what you said?
No, I said I
Oh.
don't work days.
Oh, okay. Do you guys hate being called bedboard?
I like it, my neighbor used to call us Kirkman, so me and my husband, our first name, that's all they call us was Kirkman, so bedboard is good. Bed and board.
So bedboard's the one that stays in the office, and then
Mhm.
house soup is on the floor?
Mhm.
Yeah. So we should be able to, like we announced at the first, yay, Brittany and Lindsay are here. And instead of a mission moment for House Soups this week in Huddle, I'm going to announce these guys as new House Soups. So we should be able to start doing this around mid-February. I know Pam will kind of start looking at the schedule too, and so we'll figure it out, and depending on orientation and all that. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Any questions about that?
Diane, did you get it changed in the computer?
I asked for
The
it to be,
schedule?
yeah, I asked for more codes. We have to have more codes
So
to put them
it
in.
will be put in the computer as which one you'll be working based on the
Yeah.
code once that is done.
Yeah.
so.
So I requested it a few days ago, maybe even last week.
Okay.
So they're usually pretty good about it. I'm surprised it has
Mhm.
taken so long, cause
Maybe this is like a build or something.
yeah, it could be something different than just adding
Because
something.
other things, it's like the same day. They're
Yeah,
usually
they're fast.
done. So we'll see how those roles play out, honestly, as it goes. Bed availability communication. Wow, that was not said right. Bed availability communication.
I know what you meant.
Dr. Kutula came to me today and was like, we don't know how many beds there are that we can admit to. He's like, I understand the ER knows, like you guys are keeping the ER up to date, but the hospitals don't always know, and then sometimes the ER will call and say we have a bed, and we don't really have a bed. And so I don't know, like maybe whenever you update, this is just my thought, but you tell me your ideas after what you want to do. Maybe whenever you go down and update the ER, because I know you're doing that like several times a shift, you just text the hospitalist at the same time. They said to text the triage phone, and that would be the one that.
We could text them a picture of the board, yeah.
Yeah, you could do that too.
But honestly, I do it, so it takes a while to get report and get started, so about 3 hours into my shift is when I get a chance to go down there and do that. And then when I'm passing out the code sheet, I might update it around like 3 in the morning or something like that. So I really, at most, do it twice. And then otherwise I just communicate to the clerk and
As I
the
say,
ER doc.
the hospitalists during the day, like Dr. Whiteman and Belcher, you know, the admitting physician. I mean, it seems like we're always talking to them all day, like that if they get a request, then they will say, you know,
We
has this
asked
been approved or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that's another step for them, I
And
think
Dr.
Kutula doesn't
Yen
want.
at night will always, and I always tell the ER, just call me before they call them to make sure we have a
Yeah.
bed, cause Dr. Yen will always say, have you called the house supervisor, have they got a bed?
Yeah, that's good.
And so, most of them at night, that's what I do, is just communicate the first shift and said, if they call you, I've already approved it,
Okay.
so, and that seems to work in the middle of the night.
Yeah, however, I think that's fine that y'all kind of communicate a different way in different times. Just make sure you're communicating to the
So
hospital.
what Pamela said actually is really good for getting time to, because when the clerk asks us, hey, do you have a bed, we might admit room 12, I get a chance to look up room 12, talk to the charge nurse, and then by the time I get a bed request, it's already on my paper.
So
So,
if you
yeah,
just let
tell
the
us.
hospitalist know, hey, I've updated the ER, if they call you, it's okay, or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah,
that.
but then we have to have the ER on board with that.
And
plan.
they usually say, yeah, they're gonna request med surge, but it might be IMC, but we'll let you know
Yeah.
if it changes, you know, whatever,
Yeah.
and so.
Oh,
Hey, Summer.
Yeah, I just don't think we can ever over
Can you
communicate,
hand
so.
those?
Pretty much like case by case
I guess
for
she doesn't need
everybody.
this one. She
I think the problem is Pleasantview.
Oh, that is a problem.
That stuff goes through so many different ways. You'll have doctors that will just call the hospitalist, because they can get in and get
Or
done, they
us.
know that number. You have the transfer center that will just connect the doctors with the hospitalist, and then they'll call me for a bed. And so, there's just so many different ways that it happens from Pleasantview that it's just really frustrating. Cause then you're like, well, now I have to take them, they've already accepted.
Should they always be calling the transfer center at Pleasant View?
Yeah, it's
Well,
supposed to go
we-
through the transfer center.
Well, we're case by case, right? And we haven't been
No,
anything
it's
but
supposed to
case
go
by
through the
case.
transfer
No matter
center,
what.
whether
Okay.
we're.
I had them tell me that if we're just open, that they can just go ahead and send people, I mean, that's what they said, and
They
they told me
say
that
that,
too.
they have to
Right,
call,
but
go
they'll
through the
still
transfer center and call us for the bed.
Yeah, they'll still call us for a bed, but they won't give us a heads up. They won't ask.
I guess the days has been different, so.
Yeah, I'll follow up
So
on
many
that then.
But
frustrating
then
ways.
last night during the night, they couldn't get a hold of me because I was in the middle of a rapid and moving them to IMC. And so Pleasant View called me and says, well, do you have a room for me yet? And I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. And they says, the transfer center says you won't answer your phone, so we need a bed. And I said, well, then call the transfer center and tell them to call me now that my rapid's over and
I'm
the
so glad you're
patient's
saying that.
breathing better and,
There's only
you know,
one of you.
So glad you're saying that.
Right.
And so, and the patient ended up going to Brigham City. I said, just call Brigham City, we're not gonna take them, so. So the transfer center
I'll make
arranged
sure
the
there is
Brigham
call the
City.
transfer, or I'll follow up on that, there is
It's
call the
just,
transfer
it needs to
center.
be one way.
Yeah.
Let's just do it one way, not.
5 ways.
Not 5 ways.
If a doc, if an ER doc writes an admin order, that's not irreversible.
That just means they need to be admitted, it's not
You could
until
still
our doc
transfer them out.
accepts them,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the other thing
They
about
act like
Pleasant View,
it's, you
Yeah.
know, written in stone, like, but I already wrote the admin order.
Yeah, you'll be admitted to Brigham then.
Yeah.
well, and sometimes Pleasant View, they'll wanna send an ER to ER because they need more testing
Ultrasound,
done, or they want them just
Surgeon.
direct.
And that's
so,
okay.
And that's
and it
another
is,
thing,
but
the
it
ER
still gets
calling.
confusing, cause you have to ask them, so is this an ER to ER, are we doing it direct, who are you calling to get,
Yeah,
to
what
accept the
are you
patient?
doing? Yeah.
Which docs are you actually calling?
That happened to me too, where the Pleasant View ER doc told the patient, you're going to the main ER to get admitted, but then we were told they're only coming to the main ER for an ultrasound. So
Yeah,
that's the
there
one
has
that
been
sat in
some
the ER
major
during their
communication
shift,
problems,
told me
yeah.
the next day, it was almost 12 hours.
Yeah.
Because you also get the ER clerk will call you, are we getting one from Pleasant View? And you're like, I have no idea what you're talking
Right.
about.
Yeah, cause they'll just call the ER.
Yeah. Or you'll just get that message, incoming patient. You're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah. Wait,
Everybody's
this
on
happened
this-
5 different ways today.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm
Okay.
serious, yeah.
And it's literally the same day, you'll get 4 different ways.
The other problem is with Davis, is because they all work at Davis, and here, so they'll call the doctor directly sometimes and say, I need to send him over there. And usually I've already told the doctor, no, we're not taking anybody, so they'll tell him no, but if I'm not standing right there to say, no, don't accept that patient, they do.
The
'cause,
hospitalist will?
No, the ER doctors, cause they call them on their cell phone, just, you know.
They'll do an ER to ER kind of thing.
Yeah, from Davis, and, you know, for something we're gonna admit, and
It's like, we're not gonna admit them.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe just cause sometimes the ER doctors don't always listen, text the hospitalist too. But I'll pull up on the Pleasant View thing. But yeah, Kachula was like, I don't know if it happened, I don't think it happened today, but he said, you know, when they accept one and then they figure out, oh, we don't actually have a bed for it. But,
It's confusing too, when we have the overflows, I'm like, I could do 1 IMC, or I could do 3 med surges, or if I fully know, if you did a COVID, then I need another nurse, and then I have got none of that, 3 COVIDs, and so it's like very, very
Well,
mercurial how.
And part of this might have stemmed from yesterday, that one that was in the ER, the COVID, no, it wasn't a COVID,
Yeah,
it was an IMC.
Yeah.
I guess there was a confusion about whether the doctor should write order to admit until the patient's actually going to the floor. And then last night Ian come on and he says, oh no, they've already told me I need to write the orders and get them admitted. You know, and so they didn't even communicate with each other what was going on with that patient. And so they didn't know, well, do I admit them, or do I let them sit down there while we're holding them and do the admission clear down the road when we have a bed? So that kind of might need to be clarified too.
Well, and you know, I think probably everybody knows, I think that's probably the last to know, but if the hospitalist writes the order, then ER can put them in a whole bed, and then they can see all the orders, that and then the ER nurse should be doing the
But
hospitalist
that's
orders,
part of the
but.
problem, the ER nurse will say, oh, that's a floor order, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And they won't even do stat ones if it's a floor order.
Even the
So-
ones we're holding down there?
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so
that's,
clarify
well,
that.
that's with
What are we
any-
supposed to
anybody.
do?
They're supposed to start.
And
We
question
got
about
a
that
groupie
too,
from
if someone
Stacy
is a
Baker.
post-op,
From
they,
today.
Yeah.
They
because
can't go
it's been
back.
an
She
issue.
said to start the orders. Okay. That's what I was gonna say. I'll meet with Stacy tomorrow. What did I
Yeah.
say in my head? So.
But,
it is.
yeah, I'm glad they, cause that
Yeah.
happened.
Oh, Alex.
Oh.
We're holding patients more and more. Expectation is we medicate these patients from the inpatient orders. As soon as you know we're gonna be holding that, you need to initiate that. As soon as they're due, give them.
Okay, good.
so put them in a hold bed,
And then you can see all the
Well, they
orders.
get put in a whole bed.
and it's the hospitalist that's doing the orders.
I honestly don't know where they're saying they can't see orders, cause I've always been able to see them. Like, as long as they're in, they hit the mark, but what takes a while is pharmacy verifying.
Mm.
Cause if our pharmacy verifies, it doesn't hit our mark.
Yeah.
Is that possible to do with like a post-op? Like, let's say we didn't have any beds, and I could send a nurse down to the ER to recover a post-op, but they have a strong, standard that once it's left the ER and it's inpatient, they can't come back to the ER?
Right,
because
they
it's-
can't.
Because that's an EMTALA violation.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
There's like some weird part of the EMTALA law. There's a lot of weird parts of the
Yeah.
EMTALA law, and that's one of them.
Okay, cool.
So, like, let's say that was the only bed you had left and people are like ready to be put into a hallway in COVID land, maybe, you know? But yeah, not as practice.
If we get an appy during the day, could we just make it so that they go the same day and discharge?
If you can.
I mean, well, that just doesn't seem like, that should be the standard. And the standard is to admit them, and then they get to the floor and they stay for a half hour and then they leave.
Well, and that, at night, surgical recovers all those, not,
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, at night,
and
it's
then
different,
they'll stay
but-
there for a half hour, or the EGDs, a half hour, they go home and.
EGDs are a joke.
Then we get,
I'll ask the.
the
Yeah, it
EGDs
just-
are 5 minutes sometimes.
Yeah, just one set of vitals and they're already walking out.
I mean, I get it if there's something, yeah, if it's ruptured or like, yeah, they gotta stay, but the majority of them, they're just.
Yeah, they're just outpatient procedures.
You know, and then Packy just calls, hey, where's our bed? And you're like, well, can't you just discharge them home?
Well, Packy can't discharge.
Well, not Packy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, same.
Same day.
Yeah.
This is good. This is actually what I was wanting to talk next before we go to anything else was the current surge and where we're at. So.
The what?
The current surge of
Oh,
patients.
surge.
You're very well aware of it. And like after talking to David a lot today about like, you know, what should we be doing? Again, you know, I feel like we have this conversation every 3 months because we have a new surge every 3 months. But you know, if we're reaching max capacity, physical and staffing again, then start trying to transfer it out. And we're likely not be able to transfer it out, but try. And because we just don't know unless we try. But then from there, I asked today, what if we physically run out of beds? Like, cause we're really close to that. Well, they're at 23, but we have to hold the 2 for procedures. ICU's at 12, at least they were. They might be higher now. You know, like, anyway, like we're really close to filling up all beds with surgeries tomorrow, like we'll be completely full. And I said, like, are we like gonna put people in hallways? Like, what are we gonna do with, you know, beds? And he said, I will refuse to do that until everyone else in our whole entire division is in the same place as us. So I know he's meeting with division tomorrow to talk about that.
We had him talk about, because last night during the night, the one that was gonna go from Pleasant View, Linda had already talked to Jamie from there, and she had already said, yes, we could transfer. Well, the transfer center said, no, we can't do that until the ALC there is approved, so they called that one up, got the approval before we could even move it. But we had already, you know, Linda had already talked to him and already gotten approval before she went home.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know why we have to get another approval or
Yeah.
what that's all about.
Especially if they just accepted it, it's just like a transfer center patient, any transfer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds like a transfer center thing.
Yeah. Transfer centerism.
Too many hands in the pot.
Well, that, I mean, that's the other thing, is that when we say we need to try and transfer, then we get pushback from the transfer center. They call the AOC, and we get pushback from the AOC. And I'm like, I don't wanna transfer patients, I don't, but
Yep.
if I'm saying that it needs to transfer, then we probably need to transfer, you know?
Yeah, and if you, like, you shouldn't be getting pushback from the AOC, because this is what they said is the plan. So if you are, you need to let me know so I can help.
Well, me and Linda ran into it, I mean, you know, and she gets on, and this is Pleasant View, we need to try and keep it, and I'm like, I understand that, but I physically can't take it right now, you know?
Yeah, and we should, like, in like right now, we need to
But
be.
Linda, the one night said that, like, the girl who got on just totally, you know, ripped into her, and like, this is an extension of your hospital, you can't transfer out, and it's like, yeah, we can.
Yeah, and we can, yep.
You can take them right to Brigham. On the way.
Yeah, I just want them to know the expectation as well.
It's no
Yeah.
different than transferring out of our ER, because we don't have beds, and same there, but it's just easier from there, because they have to go somewhere anyway.
Well, today we were working on getting current inpatients to Lakeview and Brigham because we're so.
Really?
Yeah,
Like, that's how bad it was.
it was so
So,
bad today.
It's like we can't get to the point that we're like so full, that we can't function, and so, it was fun, huh, Summer? It was fun
We had a lot of fun.
Did
Did you end up
So
doing
you were
it?
able to get people to Lakeview and?
We got one, right?
Well,
Brigham?
We got
last night,
none, Lakeview denied that one. After all that?
right before
That's usually
I
what
got here last
happens.
night, Linda had
Two.
called both units, and both Brigham City and Lakeview only had 2 beds available last night for med surg. So they were kind of and they have nothing IMC, ICU.
Okay,
So they were already kind of capacity before we started.
Is the last ditch effort thing coming back on the table about minimizing surgeries? Cause staff is starting to get upset about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's.
We talked about it a lot.
Like
a
I've been
lot
getting it and getting
today.
it and getting it, now I'm coming around to like, okay, I think I'm getting upset too.
Yeah, no, we've been, talking about it
Okay.
a lot today,
Okay.
a lot.
I believe it.
And I know, I need to ask for follow-up, I should have before this meeting started, so I could tell
Okay.
you guys. I know they didn't cancel any for tomorrow yet, but I do know that they are aware that it's likely gonna happen. With the
Okay.
COVID surge, like, the COVID unit's gonna be completely full, and so.
And you know, when I left at 6:30 this morning, there was already a line all out in front to be tested at 6:30.
What time do they open?
You know, it's
No,
wrapping
but
around the back
it-
of the hospital.
Well, yeah,
streets right
it
now.
already started at 6:30 this morning.
I think they open at 7, don't they?
I don't know, but they were all lined up.
Wow.
I think it's
And
7
they cut
o'clock.
it down at 6:30, they just shut it down at night, yeah.
Yeah, we had an employee in the line, and they were almost there. They had been in the line for 2 hours, and then when the time that they stopped ended, they just cut all the cars off and said, "Go home, come back tomorrow." And one of our employees was in it. So-
Did they not know they could just come in and do it
They're not
quickly?
supposed to, right?
No.
Someone else asked
Well,
us to
yeah,
rein
she
it in.
did ask us once too.
Yeah.
She just asked us to rein it in a little, right? Like,
Yeah.
be more conservative with it.
Yeah, if they're already here,
I
then
don't
we
know,
can do
I
it, but if
sent-
they're not here and they're
What
from
if they
home.
work the next day? We
I've
should do
already,
it.
Yeah.
I sent
She
3
just
home
doesn't
this
wanna
week
come
during the shift.
into the
COVID?
hospital.
Sunday night I
Sick.
sent one and last
Right.
night
Just
too.
swap them in their cars. That's what it
The
is.
issue-
Oh,
The
is that
issue
the
is having
Oh,
a sick
okay.
person come into the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, she should have told us.
It's
that.
not the
That's
right,
just
I thought this whole time it
volume.
was, yeah.
We have a lot of employees that just drive up to the ER entrance and the charge sends one of us out to swab them.
Oh,
So, I mean, that only takes like a second.
yeah, it's easy. It's not the amount of tests.
Because
but
they have the
it's-
packet and everything.
She's just like, why are people coming in the hospital sick? Yeah.
Because they were gonna go work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as they
All
call
of us
us,
have been working sick.
yeah, as long as they call ahead, it works out really nice, you know, as long as he
As
isn't
long
real
as
busy.
like Emily's had the lab, prep it, and it's tube done, and then the clerk's like, oh, I guess we're holding this for somebody, and they call and they're like, is it there? And they say, yeah, I'm on my way.
Hey.
I mean, it was just
And then like Matt
minimal
McCree this
impact.
morning was sick, he was gonna call in, he says, no, I'll just get come test for COVID. If it's positive, I'll go home, if it's negative, I'll try to stay all day. But he sounded pretty bad, but he stayed, or, well, for the first hour, but I don't know after
Yeah,
that.
he ended up
stayed.
on IMC.
How did he do?
He did good, yeah.
Cause he was feeling pretty
Yeah,
crappy.
he's a trooper.
Yeah,
He's a good guy.
So he can work IMC?
Sorry, what?
Matt can work IMC?
He was,
Just
I-
no strokes, no drips kind of thing, or?
yeah,
But they also had 4 or 5.
right. He was doing
overflows.
overflows.
Oh, Well,
But
that,
he
yeah,
can
that's-
do
that's-
IMC too. He did IMC today. So.
Good.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he does a
You
good
did
job.
half that, but, I mean, kind of
Yeah.
same.
Oh, that's a mission moment. Becky Cheney was transport the other day for us for a couple hours. I mean, it helped out because the transporter was passing kitchen trays, so.
Well, and the transporter, one of them, Trudy just sent out a message that the transporter is now positive with COVID. So
Oh, shoot.
we won't have any transportation for the next 5 days.
Better.
Yeah.
The one that was just sitting right there.
Oh.
He's the only one, I think. So.
Oh no, I think it's Cassidy. Cause he, yeah, what does he do? He does,
Is he a transporter?
I thought he only did IR.
Oh. Okay. Huh. Interesting.
No, there is, well, I was trying to think of what their name was. that-
Austin.
Is it Austin? I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
was
cause he transports.
Yeah.
I
But
thought he
works
only
the
did a-
kitchen, too.
Austin?
I mean, that's what he was the other day. He was
No, that's-
passing trays, Austin was.
that's the other guy.
They said Austin is passing
Tall-
trays because there's
tall
too many
Austin?
sick people.
But all the front screeners from the front door are assigned to be pass trays also, that's part
Oh,
of their
really?
assignment. So some of them do it all day long, one day, and the next day they're the screener, and,
That's good.
yeah,
Hospitality workers.
Yeah.
yeah. So they,
Another.
I was just, they do the book some days, I mean, so that's their assignments.
That's great.
What other questions or concerns or issues have you had with the current surge in capacity?
I think that if you tell people you're canceling surgeries, I know that it's been talked about, but like the morale around just telling everyone that you're canceling surgeries is gonna go a very, very long way, if that ever actually happens. So, I know it sucks, cause that's like a huge, like, revenue for the hospital, but
We
where are
don't
we
need
supposed
to-
to put that?
They need to just say that so many ER gets so many beds every day, and OR gets so many beds.
That's it.
Right, that'll happen. Sorry, we're close.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, if you can say you get 6 surgery beds, and then the OR, you know, the ER,
Well, we had it capped at 8 there for a while, but
Yeah,
like tomorrow
or
it's
something.
12. You know,
How many of those are going to the floor?
8.
8.
Hopefully just 8.
right?
But according to Cheyenne, she says, yeah, you guys always say there's just 8, but she says you guys forget that there's also ER admissions amongst that, so that doesn't mean anything. So,
Well, and sometimes you end up getting a call from PACU that they're not doing well and you have to get more on anyway, so the ones that are planning on keeping it don't keep half the time either.
yeah, so it's,
Does Brandon know the cath lab ones?
So he doesn't, we decided today, we're gonna start writing them all up on
Okay.
the board
That
too,
would be
because,
helpful.
yeah, we have 2 cats
That would be
tomorrow
very
too,
helpful.
that we hadn't been planning on, so. Yeah,
but
so
for
actually that's-
some of them are
Because, I mean,
same
yesterday
day.
there was
Oh.
6.
And that's what it was gonna be, the short list.
Yeah, I was gonna say short list.
Short list.
Some of them go same day first,
Yeah.
and some go pre-post to the floor. And so you have to look at the surgery schedule and the cath schedule to see which ones are actually gonna go to same day first and whatever, and that's why that short list
The
is,
heart cas always hit the floor first.
no, like today there's an ablation that
Right, the
did.
heart cas always hit the
Um,
floor first.
Forstall sometimes will change his mind and they'll go to, so you have to still look every day to make sure, because sometimes he just,
Okay.
Puts
Sometimes
in
there's
there.
But
multiple
if they're going to
procedures at
same,
one,
if
on
they're
one
going to
patient.
same day
Yeah,
first, they'll be on
there's
the OR
multiple,
schedule.
so
If they're
they'll-
going to the floor, they'll be on the cath lab schedule.
Right. So that's the short list we want to make sure we get.
and for some reason, you know, the medical unit secretary has always done it. And it's been hit and miss lately. I did it Sunday night and Monday night, but last night, you know, I didn't have time with everything going on. So one didn't get done, and I just called admitting and told them what was coming, but specials needs to be on there so we know what's coming and all those other things. And so I've been making a lit copy and giving one to surgical, one to IMC, keeping one and giving one to admitting. And
So all the heart procedures should be going to IMC now?
right.
And the charge nurse is just in charge, the night charge nurse in charge of making sure to know
who's coming,
So
where
the
they're
sh-
going, all
but-
that, but is there something they should be sending to admitting?
Yeah.
I
Yes,
just think
the
that we
short-
Yeah.
should have
I
it
know
on
that
the
part.
board
Oh,
as well.
okay.
We just
See,
stopped
that's what-
doing the short stay list because we didn't know that it was supposed to go to admitting like that, and now
Oh.
admitting
The house
is pissed that we're not
supervisor-
giving them this list anymore.
Oh,
That's the
so now we know.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
And
so they have to do
The
it, yeah.
short list, they put the room number on where they're gonna go, so admitting gets it, they know exactly where to send the patient,
Okay.
to same day or to the room.
Okay.
And so,
So-
yeah, it's taken down there and we give it to the night admitting person, they give it to them as soon as they can.
So the job of making the short list is the charge nurse at night?
Well,
Well, it's
that's
all-
the thing is we need to figure out whose job it is to do that now.
Right.
It used to always be Paula or Ashley, but we only have Sarah 3 days a week, so IMC
Yes.
It's
clerk
that.
can't do that.
So
So we need
there's
to figure
one
out
short.
whose job it is to do that.
So
Right.
then on the top, there was always the
Yep.
cath lab, on the bottom, there's always the specialist.
The IRs, yeah.
And the
Right.
IR, you know, anything that is gonna be admitted.
And they need to have the room numbers on them?
Yes.
Cath lab
Mhm.
ones, they're going pre to the floor, yes,
Sometimes,
because they
So then it'd
will,
have to be at night.
but sometimes we're not doing the room numbers anymore either because like when they get here at 9, like who knows what,
Yeah.
we don't like,
but most
the
of
bed
them,
situation is so
Yeah.
rough lately that like we're not putting room numbers on there anymore.
but
We
most
just
of
put
them
on
come
the
at
day shift.
6:30 and
But like the other day there was one at
6:30, so they have
1:30,
to
it was
have-
scheduled for 13:30, so like
Yeah.
that one we're not doing, cause like who knows what's gonna happen by
Right.
And
1:30
I
at
did
night.
one the other day for Monday, and I just put the room numbers for the ones that were coming
Early.
beginning, and then the other ones I just put call house supervisor for the
Right,
other
that's
ones.
true.
Cause
So-
they need, when they go to the
Who
floor.
do you
I
want
just
to
think
have
they
that
should
job?
be on the
Bed
board
board.
as well.
See, so the job
Yeah,
has
that's
always
what they
been
said.
the day,
The bed board?
unit
Because-
secretary
Bed board,
on
yeah.
Bed board.
medical.
Until then, until we have a bed board,
But once we have a bed board, can it be the bed board's job?
yeah, send them the short
Yeah,
stay
make them
list.
do it,
Yeah.
That sounds like a house.
and
job.
make sure Paula knows she doesn't have to do it when she's here.
So yeah, I think that we need to go back to having Paula and Ashley write the short stay list, but they need to know that the hard caps are gonna go to IMC anyways.
Well, I think it would be hard for them to write it because they're not, I mean, you kind of talk with the, like Paula always talks with the charge nurse.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no, that, I mean, that's a good plan, but it really
I-
wasn't efficient even when they
Yeah.
were doing it, because stuff changes during the night, you know? So
Okay,
there
so
was
then-
always so many losses and so many, you know, cancelizations or add-ons, you know? It was just,
Why do
really,
they need to know? Sorry.
what's that?
Admitting.
Admitting
Yeah.
needs to
Admitting
know.
has to know.
So
Why?
can we
Why?
just take a copy of this?
Cause they come in and they
Yeah.
go to admitting, and then they send them to wherever
When they
go.
admitted-
Just write IMC, we don't have to put a room number.
Well, they usually send them
Yeah.
to the room. that-
No, they call the floor and you have to go get them.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you
Yeah,
can
if
just
it's-
say
Yeah.
That's what
IMC.
it's
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So what
you have
if
to
we
go get
just,
them.
yeah, that would be easy then, we just write,
So-
you know, the heart ones.
Right, so but admitting, I think it's a process that admitting has, that they have to have a room, because anybody that comes, like, anybody that's
Yeah, but they can call that floor that's written on there and get their room.
Yeah,
When-
so
right when
get
they
the
come?
room before, yeah, because they.
if they can
put
get in touch with
in-
somebody. I mean,
But they
you
should
know,
bring them up until they've talked to someone.
well, they don't usually bring them up, you have to go get them.
So then they have to get in touch with somebody, right?
And the patient will sit there and
I
wait.
think though, admitting, they admit them to a
To the room, yeah.
During like all the process.
Yeah, so when the
then they
patient
call
comes,
IMC.
it's
Or
like
they admit 'em to
a
same
direct
day
admit,
or-
like from a doctor,
Yeah.
you have to have the room to put them in, the admitting has to put that room in there.
Yeah, I just don't think it'll be accurate if the bed board sends it the night before. They
Yeah,
just-
there's
Well,
so many
usually they do
changes.
it, they do it at
We should
3 or
ask
4 in the
admitting if
morning
there's a
though.
way we could do it differently with them.
The charge nurse usually does it.
Yeah.
Well, that's when I have them do it, is 3 or 4, and then I take it to admitting.
Yeah, that's the only time it would be accurate.
Yeah, so that's
So-
when I do it.
Yeah,
So then who's gonna, so do you want the night house soup to be doing this short stay list every night?
Well,
Yeah,
like I say, it's
have
supposed to
because
be
Yeah.
the
it has
day
to be
shift
under
medical,
someone's
but
name, so.
that's
But then
not
that
been
wasn't
happening.
accurate either,
So,
right?
So then what?
Right.
I always
Right.
just double check it, but I've been doing it, so.
I know how, but I never thought it was
So yeah,
part of my job.
I just need.
yeah,
I
So-
guess I just need to
I'll
know
have to
how
call
important
down
it
there,
is that they
but I
have
just
the
need
exact
to-
room number.
so I'll
that's
talk to
done.
admitting.
Yeah, will you ask them?
Yeah,
If it is
I'll talk to
important,
admitting.
then we need to do it at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
If
So
it's
tell
not,
them not to be so surly in the morning.
It's
It's the worst way to
Well,
start your
they'll,
shift.
yeah, they'll
They're
call,
so
if they don't
rude.
have a room number, they'll call us, well, where's this patient going?
yeah.
Right? And isn't it just the 6 o'clock case that they don't walk down, don't they walk down all the other patients?
I don't know.
I thought it was just the first case that we had to go pick up because there wasn't multiple
Yeah.
admitting people.
For me, it was different when I was on medical. Sometimes they'd call, sometimes they'd bring them, sometimes they'd call, sometimes they'd bring them. So,
Yeah, we'll ask their process.
yeah.
Ask them how accurate we need to be, 'cause
Yeah.
we
And
can't
what
give
they,
them beds in the day for the next day.
especially with as busy as we've been.
Well, that's it,
Yeah.
I never have done it until 4 in the morning for what's coming in at 6, so it has been accurate, but.
Yeah, we would have to do it that way if they need
Yeah.
the actual number.
So then do you want us to start doing a short stay list every night now?
Well, let me talk to admitting first and find out, let me find out exactly what they need. Like I said, I think it's a process that they have to put the bed in.
Well, they
But I'll-
also need to know if they're going to a floor or to same day, so that's the other part.
Well, that's what she was gonna
Yeah.
say, she just write
Yeah.
2 IMC or 2 same day, or 2 IMC or 2
Cause then we
same.
can do it during the
And
day,
it, but
if
it's
not.
still,
Yeah.
somebody has to do the short list that has the, the procedures
Let's
and
have the
everything
night
on
house
it.
soup do it until you get an answer, cause it still has to be
'Kay.
done, right?
Yes, it does
And
have to be
then
done.
hopefully we can move it to the bedboard portion in the day and
Yeah.
not have specific rooms.
So you go to like view schedule, and then you do the Q.CL,
Uh-huh.
Q.IR,
Yep.
Q. What else?
SP.
CL, IR, SP.
SP.
Uh-huh.
I looked at them like
Those
3
three.
hours printed out already in the
Yeah.
office every day for you.
Okay. So I can just look through that.
Yeah, you can
That's true.
print it out and it gets printed out in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'll check with admitting.
Just see
Because
what
they're
they
the
need.
ones that the other day sent me saying, we're not getting the short stay list. And so that's when I reached out to all of you. So I'll find out if they have to have a bed number or if they can just have a general
Just
area.
call later.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It would
Okay.
be nice to let the bedboard do that, not add another thing to.
Yeah, then I-
Board person can do it.
Yeah.
And write up the short list
For the next day.
for the next day.
And then we can put the room numbers on it.
Write it, right
Yeah.
before.
But if it was written already by the
Yeah,
previous
so
day.
the day shift
Yeah.
gets it written, we can pass it around right before the day starts, cause the first one usually comes at 5:30.
Yeah.
So they usually have a room fairly quickly, so.
If you push F9, then it will tell you what
We only have 3 minutes left, so.
Yeah, so I got
The
all
one more thing that I wanted to say, is you guys are doing so well with debrief forms. Our goal is to get them done, like 95% of the time, and you've been doing that lately, even though we've been so busy. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. You're doing so awesome with it.
Yes.
We never get through everything, and that is just fine.
So we just keep putting it on there.
And we'll just keep adding it and we'll get there, but Chad's gonna be in our next meeting for emergency management. We can do that one in the other
Yeah.
room, cause then all the stuff's there.
Yeah.
So come with questions about that again, but he's just gonna keep teaching us, so.
Every month for a while.
Yeah, until we feel at least a
Comfortable.
little bit prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause you know it's coming. Sorry. With the way the world is, it's coming. So, but let's do a quick round table, see if you have anything else, Pam.
Well, I just want on this throughput, I just wanna say that it's horrible right now. It doesn't matter if we have a bed assigned for the next
Yeah.
one. There's always a delay, like the COVID that had to sit there for 3 hours last night.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter how many beds we have, sometimes they still have to sit, so throughput really is,
We're not focusing on it right now.
yeah, I
We
just saw it
can't.
right here, so I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah,
it's
we'll-
impossible
Yeah.
to get them.
We'll come back to this when
Yeah.
we can.
When we get rid of patients, okay,
Yeah.
cause it's almost impossible to
Yeah.
get a room and get things moved.
Yes.
Maybe it's the beginning of the end.
Yes. Yeah. And then he's gonna come.
Anything from you, Lindsay?
Pass.
Nope.
Is PALS mandatory for house soup? I went back and forth, it is?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know why I thought for one point it was, went to optional.
Yeah, it's mandatory. So that's put back on.
I asked why yours went to optional and
Yeah.
and they said because it went past 90 days. So then it flips into,
So did it save my spot? 'Cause that was all.
I don't know.
Oh, it makes you start all over.
yeah.
I asked, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Susan.
This
This meeting made you tired? Chase? Lauren? Nope. How about you, Summer?
Summer?
Now, I have a real quick question. I noticed some different masks than level 3s, and the other night Linda told me that now level 3s are required by everybody.
Yeah.
Have we
The thing is
implemented
they
that?
haven't arrived yet from the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
warehouse,
yeah.
so
They brought a bunch today.
Oh, they did? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
there's a bunch so on the cart on the bottom shelf, there's a ton.
Okay, good.
They
Because-
are apparently a sub of a sub, so.
A what?
Yeah.
Sub of a
A
sub?
sub, yeah. So they
And-
didn't have our normal ones in, and then the sub that they usually use, they didn't have it, so it's another one.
Yeah, so even the surgical nurses are supposed to have level 3s on now.
Yeah, I think even like office workers,
Yeah,
like everyone.
everybody is supposed to have level 3s.
So are they putting them on the units then?
Mm-hmm. They're
They
supposed
were
to all
gonna
be.
put 'em at all the entrances,
Or? Okay.
at least for the
Good.
first couple weeks.
So all of the people can get them.
That's
There's
good.
There were? Okay,
I
good.
saw them today.
Okay, good.
Good.
So, yeah. I don't think I'm wearing a level 3.
You are.
Yours
I am?
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, no.
Three is, and it was one?
Nope, I don't
Maybe
think
just
hers
take-
is.
Maybe
Is
just
the
take
one?
a box around with you today, tonight leave.
For people that don't have them?
Yeah, maybe yours level 3, because it's so contagious, the studies they've done on Omicron.
Can I clarify and make sure I'm telling everybody right now, if they are positive, they have to quarantine for 5 days, and then they can come back, but 5 days they have to wear an N95 the
Yes.
whole time they're here, correct?
So if they're
Okay.
negative, if they get a test and they're negative, they can wear a level 3. If their test comes back positive, they have to wear an N95 for the
Chances
next
are it
5
coming
days.
back negative is
Yeah.
pretty rare.
So what
after
they
5
found
days.
with Omicron is the PCR, however that takes, no, the rapid one. The rapid one is really accurate on, like, when you actually have a viral load. So it's not testing positive for months after, like the other
Like the
variants.
others.
So that's why they said to test, you get a rapid, and then if you're negative, you don't have to wear an N95. And yeah, you're right. And people aren't gonna like wanna wait in a line to get tested, and so they'll probably just wear an N95 unless we test them here.
Well, especially the ones that have to work the next day, they'll say, hey, I'm sick, can I get tested, or, you know,
Yeah.
so I don't have to call in sick
Yeah.
if it's,
Yeah, no.
so.
And again, you're fine to test them all if you
I just
go
don't
out.
come in and get it done.
Yeah.
I want the nurses here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we go through everyone?
Yep.
Okay, you guys are amazing. Seriously, thank you.
Thanks for everything.
For running the entire hospital all the time.
It's
so
an
hard.
amazing group that we have.
That's
You do
so
so
good.
well,
Yeah.
all of you.
We're so proud of you. So, yeah, you're awesome. Okay,